Hello, everyone. How are we doing? Jess, hello. Happy Wednesday. I
Howdy,
almost said
howdy.
Tuesday. It is not Tuesday. Oh, man. What a week. It's
That's all right. Pick a day.
happy
Dealer's
Friday.
choice.
I'm not going into work tomorrow. Happy Friday. I'm going to think it's Saturday. Hello, everyone. We have a few people waiting for us in the YouTube chat, which I always appreciate. Hello, Twitch. How are we doing? Yes, it is on. Phew. Made sure it was working this time. Now we've
Good
now
news.
communicated well enough that we now know when we're live, and I don't have to be like, "Are we live?" We're working out the
Are we
kinks 2
live?
years in.
Can somebody let me know?
Somebody let me know. Yeah, I am wearing my New York Rangers hat very obnoxiously as we are starting our first regular season game today. Let's go Rangers! If you are a Penguins fan, I'm sorry. It's the first game. It's fine. I shouldn't be talking so much smack, but I
Look,
really,
I don't have a hockey team, so maybe I can join. I was wondering if you guys had room for me in your Rangers fandom.
yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Okay, race in another year, no championship. I don't
Perfect.
remember.
It'll pair nicely with the rest of my professional sports teams.
Wait, Steven said boo in the YouTube chat. All right. What are you, a Bruins fan, Steven? Okay, I don't want to hear it. We're also having crazy contract negotiations. Fun fact. Okay, Jess, look. So we have a really good goalie, Igor Shizhertkin. I can't pronounce his last name. My apologies. And I'm Polish, which is wild because his last name is Russian. Um, he denied a contract yesterday, $88 million for 8 years. That's $11 million a year. And the man said no. He still would have been the highest paid goalie. I think he's hoping for 12 or maybe like 100 million over 8 years. But is it that's so much money. What
That's
are you doing
absurd.
with it? Reminds me of like the Bryce Harper thing
Wild.
in the Nationals. I am a Fairweather Nationals fan since I lived in DC for 5 years. It still hurts me, even though I'm a Yankees fan. But yeah, contracts are always interesting to me about how much like money they want and like what they're negotiating in it. And oh, he wanted a shorter term, says Parrot. He's looking for a 5-year deal, not 8, to play in the best city in the
Oh, so
world.
it's
Am I
less about the
right?
money, maybe more about the interesting. All right. Okay, I'm invested now. I'll keep up with Igor. Is that right?
Igor. Yeah, that's his first name. He's really young too, so he's got. I don't where else would someone want to play? It's probably somewhere that has a Stanley Cup recently, but that's besides the point. Okay, we got also the Yankees and the Royals.
Minor
Uh,
details.
so I know people are voting or looking for that. I think it's still preseason for the NBA. The Knicks are playing the Wizards, but that's preseason stuff, so that's fine. Oh, the Knicks were playing the Hornets.
Well, I do know that college football has started, so
Oh yeah. Well, Michigan lost. I don't want to talk about it. We're always going to lose to Washington.
oh,
They got a husky mascot. They got
and that
dubs.
is the conclusion for our college football talk for the week.
Oh
Thanks for
no.
listening.
Wait, who did your team lose to?
No, no, no. Clemson's fine. I just, I
Oh.
wasn't gonna like, yeah. I got excited, and then you were like, "My team lost," and it was like, "Oh, you
Just
know,
really brought
that's
the
sorry for
tone
your
down.
loss."
It's fine. Michigan won the championship
Yeah.
last year. It's
Oh
fine. No
man,
one stole any signs. Jim Harbaugh did nothing wrong. We can go into that. It's fine. Everything's fine.
that's all
Stephen
right.
also likes
Look,
Michigan. Man.
Michigan may not have had a great weekend,
Mhm.
but I do know that you had a pretty good weekend. So,
Yes.
because you got
So
to
did
hang
you
out with Keanu Reeves, you guys are besties. Is the word on the street, at least?
Yes, I got to hang out with Keanu Reeves because I was in Indianapolis for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. I'm gonna always include the sponsors in there. It was the last weekend of the race series, so they have races for all their series. Gosh, explaining this, motorsports is kind of inherently frustrating in this sense, where GT World Challenge America, that is the main series. That was an 8-hour race on Saturday. So you had cars from Intercontinental GT Challenge in Europe come over, as well as GT3 cars from the America Series race for 8 hours into the dark in Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is always awesome. But then you also had Toyota GR Cup, which is the spec series similar to MX5 Cup, if you guys seen that for IMSA. And they had two guests racing. They had Cody Jones from Dude Perfect. If you guys watch that YouTube channel, they do a lot of trick shots. And they also had Keanu Reeves who was racing in his Berserker livery, which is a comic, and also promoting his book and such. So that was pretty cool. They showed a lot of Keanu Reeves, and I understand why they were really promoting his celebrities for people to get excited about, but he was also very cool in the sense that he did the driver autograph session. Like, he did everything. He went to the drivers meeting like a normal, like, you would expect for him, not rudely, like,
That's
he's a busy
cool.
dude, he's also a popular dude, but he sat our drivers autograph session for GT World Challenge, which is like plastic chairs in a U shape, um, and he was just sitting amongst all the GR Cup drivers, which are substantially younger than him because they're all like 20, 19, trying to make their name in GT racing and maybe move up, or get experience for road courses to move on, hopefully, to NASCAR one day. And he was just in there signing autographs like everyone else. It was so chill. He went on the track walk with everyone, asking them for advice and tips. And I thought that was really cool. So he did, yeah, he did spin out the first
Good
race
for
once.
him.
Okay. The second race, he did fine and he passed Cody Jones and did all that stuff. So he did really, 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 really well. It's just I just
I
appreciated his
appreciate the fact that if he's gonna come in and do this, and he's gonna, like, try it out, he's gonna do the full thing, right? He's not just gonna, like, show up for bits and pieces and, drive the race car. Like, I love that he's fully gonna immerse himself and take on a full day as a driver. Also, can you imagine, like you said, being one of those drivers who is young, developing in your career, and you go to work this week and you're sitting next to Keanu Reeves and you're like, "What in the world?" Like, that would just be so funny to think about. So, I love that. I love that he did that.
uh, Panda Joy saying he's a treasure and must be
Bring,
protected.
more eyes and exposure to, like, the ins and outs of being a driver.
Yeah, and you also did something this weekend
Love it.
as well.
I did. I pulled a bit of an audible, so I was supposed to, cover the modifieds at North Wilkesboro, but as we had talked about last week, that race has been moved. They have a new date for that, so that's gonna be, a week from this Sunday, so stand by, and I'll give you the actual date here. So the new modified race is going to be on the 20th at North Wilkesboro. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, given that that changed, I booked a flight and I went to Utah for Nitro Cross. And I am, again, just blown away by what they did out there. It was such a cool racetrack. I highly recommend looking into it or checking out, my Instagram, Nitro Cross's Instagram, because it's just like the way I explained it to everybody is that it's basically life-sized Hot Wheels. They let
Mm.
Travis Pastrana just build a racetrack and free reign. You've got tunnels and jumps, and it was just really cool. So really fun, neat weekend to go out there and see that. They had a pretty crazy wreck on the last lap of the round four, so Sunday's round. Final lap of the race, final wild wreck. Connor Martell got into the wall, and that kind of stuff doesn't really happen much in Nitrocross.
Yeah.
So it was pretty crazy to see. But yeah, it was wild. So highly recommend going and checking that out on Instagram because some pretty exciting video coming out that weekend. So I had a good time. I loved it. I always love going back to Nitro Cross.
Alexander on YouTube chat, is Travis still racing? And to my knowledge, he is.
Yeah. Hmm. He races. So without going deep down the rabbit hole, the top class in Nitro Cross is Group E. He doesn't race in that class because it is his series. So he races more in the side by side series, which is like the Can Ams, and that's a series. So he doesn't really, given like his ownership and his leadership in the sport, he doesn't race in the top class. He races more like in a more of a fun, different style of racing class. So, but yeah, he's still active for sure. It's fun to
I
watch.
did see the Class 11 car almost went over the wall entirely, but it was, like, teetering on its side, like, during the race started, one of the corners, 'cause, like, they were going 4 wide, and then the vintage VW bug in the dirt, which is Class 11 racing, was on its side, and I was like, "Whew, everyone's okay." But I thought that was, yeah, it's
That was
some
literally lap 1, race 1 of, like, the weekend. Like, that I mean, like, heats aside, like, that was, like, bugs, let's see what the bugs can do, and then that was, like, the first main turn, and they just went, "Whoop," right over the little banking there, and everyone was like so, it was pretty funny.
you're like, "No. Come on, guys. You're our only hope."
We were all like, "Oh, that's on par." Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Can't be
fun. It
going
was a fun
4 or
weekend.
5 wide, into there, so, um Some other news from this weekend, as we know, the Hurricane Helene efforts are still ongoing. I mean, it's going to take for those towns and cities, as we talked about last week. And however, Charlotte Motor Speedway and North Wilkesboro donations are still being collected every Wednesday at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So it's going to be an ongoing effort. I believe for this month, every single Wednesday, if you have any additional donations to drop off, or if you want to lend a helping hand and volunteer to pack up boxes and trucks, that is available at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I also know that Hurricane Milton is, I mean, the bands are already hitting Florida, something we've been watching all week. And Atlanta Motor Speedway is actually open for camping, bathroom facilities, and just like a space to be if you need one. So, shout out to our speedways in the community, just kind of opening up there and being available to help the community because that's kind of what we need right now and kind of what it's about to just put everything aside and be like, hey, just come on in if you need something. So, Atlanta Motor Speedway, again, open for camping and any facilities that anyone needs. So, yeah, stay safe, hunker down if you need to do what's best for you and your family, but hopefully Milton does ease down from a Cat 5 to the lower categories as it crosses across Florida and doesn't cause as much damage, but fingers crossed. Seen a lot of videos of people getting prepped and ready, and I know back to back is kind of scary.
Mhm.
Hmm. We have NASCAR should take their cars and ask the drivers to run anti-clockwise around the Hurricane Milton to form an anti-hurricane and cancel the danger. If only that could work.
I
Unfortunately,
was just reading that. That's quite a, twist on the vortex theory. I feel like that's like a study that someone has done on vortex theory. It's this 2.0, vortex theory 2.0. However, I don't think that that will work. I appreciate the suggestion.
hey, any suggestion is a suggestion, right?
It is
This is
really
a
funny though.
open topic. Yeah.
I'll take it. Hey.
I do appreciate the vortex theory.
No, that gave me a good laugh when I read it. Oh, I love it.
Mhm.
I love a good theory, especially when it comes from Daryl Waltrip, you know?
And from our eNASCAR news. So I asked for more specific details on this because we were told about the eNASCAR College Series, which do compete. They're being $60,000 in scholarships being awarded in the 2024-2025 season, which is cool. But they also have some. I think knowing the schools that are competing for the eNASCAR College Series might be a little bit helpful. We already have Steve in the YouTube chat booing Michigan, so whether you hate him or love him, everyone knows what the school is about. So yeah, University of Michigan is competing along with schools such as Arizona State, Ball State, George Mason, North Carolina, Charlotte, University of Oklahoma, Virginia Tech. Which, if you don't know Virginia Tech, their mascot's the Hokies, and if you ask them what's a Hokie, they have to say "I am," which always makes me laugh. So, any Virginia Tech fans out there, just let them know I've sent you to ask that question. Overall, 334 drivers registered to date and 232 schools represented. So, check out the eNASCAR iRacing series that is on Tuesdays. Yesterday was the second of 8 scheduled regular season races with many more chances to enter. Check it out if you want to support your school. Not that I did not go to University of Michigan, by the way.
I loved getting that
I
list
feel
of schools too.
yeah,
I loved getting that list because it was so diverse and it was so, all over the country, and it was really fun and exciting to see, as somebody who really isn't super versed in that world, at least to get a glimpse of it and go, "Oh, wow, there are people all over the country that are competing in this and, invested in this," and it's just exciting to think about, where the future of both esports, but also NASCAR as a whole is gonna go when more and more people can get into it all around the country. I love it. I'm so excited. I'm very invested now.
it's just to see some schools building like esports spots, like a computer lab, but just for competing in esports. And now these schools are getting sim rigs added to their facilities, which is, yeah, just like you said, very interesting to see it grow and get more popular and competing in series like this and so many other ones that are happening across the sim racing space with iRacing and other games and such. Yeah, rooting for Michigan again. Didn't
Mhm.
go there. Ha ha. I was just reading the YouTube chat. So much difference. The difference between YouTube and Twitch, insane.
I know. I'm still learning to switch back and forth, so bear with me. And I can tell sometimes I have my thinking face on. You know when you almost forget and I sit like I'm over here like reading the chat and then I remember that I'm reading the chat.
So
So
much difference.
bear with me.
Golden Diver in the YouTube, Twitch says, "Shout out computer lab days back in the mid 2000s." Yeah, just learn how to use the computer. Um, Moving on with some news, WeatherTech sponsoring SVG and Connor Zilic next year. I think we've seen those liveries or the paint scheme, excuse me, and I thought that looked. I know they're just mostly just white with the WeatherTech logo, but I honestly think it looks pretty good. I don't know what it is. I don't know
It's
why I like
clean.
it so much. It's clean. It's straight to the point. I know exactly what it is. I know exactly who's going to be in that car, and I am all set. So, no surprise there with WeatherTech sponsoring SVG and Connors Village next year. They are really big sponsors for SVG in general already, and you just work a lot closely with them. So, having the full support for next year and Connors Village just makes a lot of sense. And they are still both Red Bull sponsored as well. Um, Still within the motorsports space, teamed them up with IMSA. Well, funny you should say that, Francis, in the Twitch chat. If you are unfamiliar, FIA driver categorization stuff came out today, I believe. Um, and some of you might be like, "What does that mean?" And fun fact: all of your drivers, well, I shouldn't say all, most of your favorite drivers are rated by the FIA, whether they're bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. Fun fact: if you win a NASCAR Cup Series, if you are, excuse me, NASCAR Cup Series championship, you are a platinum rated driver, which is the highest there is. I did not know that because I saw Chase Elliott. Because you can search the drivers. You can search your favorite drivers if they haven't privatized themselves in the search feature of the FIA driver categorization website. You can literally just Google it and it'll pop up with the search feature. If you search Chase Elliott, he is a platinum rated driver because he has raced in IMSA before and such. So which means Kyle Larson is platinum rated and such and things like that. So which means Joey Logano is platinum rated. Fun fact, which is fun to think about. But he hasn't raced in anything FIA sanctioned outside of NASCAR, so he won't be in the driver categorization search category. This could be one day a long stream in itself because driver categorization is very interesting and finicky. But I just thought it was a fun fact that if you win a Cup Series championship, you are automatically a platinum, the highest rated driver categorization there is. I don't know how long that lasts, which is my question. I'll have to look
That's
that into
big.
it. That is pretty cool. I It just means you're automatically a pro. Usually in
Yeah.
series, oh, I guess I should tell you what the colors mean. For example, in something like GT World Challenge America, which where I was this past weekend, if you are bronze, it means you're an AM or an amateur. They don't like to use the word amateur anymore. They like to say bronze rated or like gentleman driver. So in certain series, there'll be pro-ams, just an AM class. So it's two bronze drivers or a silver and a bronze or two silvers or so on and so forth. So anything silver and above for GT World Challenge is pro. In other series, a silver and bronze is considered AM, and then gold and platinum are considered pro. There's a whole mix of stuff. So drivers get really intense about it because you
Huh.
rather be a silver sometimes than a gold because that means there's more driving opportunities for you, but sometimes you wanna be a gold because it means you're really, really fast, and then you wanna end up being a factory driver for someone, so you wanna climb up that ladder. You can also get demoted, which is fun fact. So a lot of drivers moved from, like, silver back to bronze this year or from gold to silver. Um, and of note, I think Colton Herta is now someone we all know. He's now a platinum rated driver, which is interesting. No one else, I think, in the NASCAR space has been rated anyway, but just you just get automatic platinum once you win that championship, but if you're interested in learning about that, by all means, please go into that rabbit hole. There's also an age thing. When you reach the age of 55, you automatically get demoted, which is wild. So if you ever heard the name Ben Keating, he always drives as an AM, but he races just as fast as the pros because he's just a really good driver. So like they win really well because he's really fast, regardless of his age. You just get demoted every 5 years after that, which is inherently annoying. I know the system. Yeah, it's weird. A lot of drivers hate it, love it. It's a whole
Okay,
thing.
look, inherently annoying in motorsports, I can absolutely see where that would be frustrating. However, I do like that concept maybe for just general drivers around the country and driver's licenses. 55 feels a little young, but maybe we could evaluate that denotion of some sort for people when they hit a certain age. As we're throwing out suggestions today, I just thought I'd throw that one out there.
So it's age, and there's also a bunch of like little bullet points. Classically, the very broad one that your ranking can be moved at any like is reevaluated on the FIA based on other specifications. They make like a really broad bullet point at the end that the FIA is in control overall at the end there. So they compare like your lap times, if you've won any championships, if you've how you compare it to other drivers in your category, and like that's how they manage to like move you up and down the list every year. So I mean, we could do that just for drivers for everyone. Forget about the age thing. It could just be like, how many tickets do you have? Like, how many do you drive safely as everyone else? How many repair shops have you been to? How often do you change your oil regularly? And denote all those things and be like,
How many
okay,
curbs have you hit? You know, I think this is yeah, this is good. Maybe curbs actually, no on the curbs. We don't
no,
need to discuss how many curbs we've hit. We're good.
No, because, Kyle Larson has been known to not be a good daily driver, actually. His wife points that out very frequently in interviews, so I don't think it'd be fair as someone who's a platinum rated driver to then be demoted because he hits curbs on a daily driver. You know, he's won a championship and then also has then hit a bunch of curbs while daily driving. So,
He's
we'll have to
he's not allowed
reevaluate.
to drive literally, like, Monday to Friday, but he's allowed to go race on Saturdays and Sundays.
Done. Sold. Gavel that in. So those came out today. If you're interested in sports car racing, because we do have Petit Le Mans this weekend. Those ratings don't affect this year; they affect next year. But Petit Le Mans is this weekend. It is an 11-hour race, endurance race, which is really cool. I did show Jessie and our producer Rachel. Did you say 12 hours? I feel like 11 just sounds weird enough for it to be right. 10 hours? I did show Rachel and Jesse the Ford paint scheme that's gonna glow in the dark because they do race into the evening. So Ford, as you guys know, Multimatic, it's got the horse on the side and everything, and it's simply gonna glow in the dark, and I'm just gonna show it to the camera real quick. If you look it up, you see the horse is
Amazing.
gonna be outlined perfectly in the evening, with the headlights and stuff. Ooh, 10 hours. Thanks, Alexander. We just
Just
we're
amazing.
eventually close.
Where did you, where'd you see that, Ash? And I'll drop a link to it in the chat for people to go look at it because it really is so
Ooh,
sweet.
perfect. I will send you the oh, I guess I can put the Twitter link in the chat. It's for Ford Multimatic, the team and such. So, Gil night racing in GTs is beautiful. I mean, I think we all like night racing when it's really cool, especially like in NASCAR. But GTs get to put like LEDs on their car, right? They have the outline of the horse, or some have different colors, so you can find them. So if their paint scheme is like a bright yellow, they'll have yellow LEDs on the windows and such. I always argue for Underglow, but then everyone makes fun of me that it's not Fast and Furious 2001, even though Underglow is never not cool. I'm just I'm just saying.
Okay, I'm so glad we're on the same page because I was just about to ask your opinion on how NASCAR kind of dipped their toes in this, you know, a couple years ago when they did the underglow for what's the All-Star race and they did the different colors based on the manufacturer and then they also did the underglow in Nashville. Like I felt the same way. People were like, "Oh, come on, this isn't Fast and Furious." And I was over there like, "This is sick." So, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was cool. Now, do we need this like to race around Atlanta? Absolutely not. But it was cool, you know, for every little once in a while, throw some underglow on that.
Francis Baconator says, "Need more Underglow in all series?" Yeah, well, maybe not NASCAR because you can't see it. You wouldn't be able to see it that well. But, if you race into the evening, then yeah, absolutely need
Correct.
Underglow. It does get a little difficult to identify cars in the evening, if they don't have, like, a specific LED headlight. Like, the Ford car, I'm gonna know that's the Ford Multimatic because it has the outline of the like, that's easy to spot, but otherwise, you got 2 headlights and you're racing around in the dark. It's just like, "What are we doing here? Who's leading what?" You just have the live timings to go off of, so, thank you, Alexander. Yeah, 10-hour race, Petit Le Mans. It's on Saturday, fun fact. So, no excuse not to watch the Cup Series at the Charlotte Roval, and also tune in for Xfinity as well in between. Just saying. Someone did ask if Talladega is gonna be sorry, Charlotte Roval is gonna be as hectic as, Talladega. And my answer is yes, if not worse.
Yes. Mhm. 1,000,000% yes. Talladega was hectic, but on the Cup side, you know, cautions wise, obviously we had the huge one at the end, like not just the big one, like the biggest of ones at the very end. But before that, I mean, we really only had like, two other cautions for on-track incidents. So I think we're going to see everything that didn't happen at Talladega, all those tempers aren't the right word, all that pressure, I should say, start to rise at the Roval, and I think it's all going to come out at Charlotte.
Yeah, it's gonna be, Cup Series, the biggest big one. in Big One history. That was, watching that back.
The
So I was
biggest
able to
of
watch
big
it
ones and big one of histories.
the the biggest of histories in the world. I was able to watch it live because I was in Annapolis flying, et cetera, coming back home. I just saw my Discord getting, like, live reactions of, like, people fluttering with chat messages. I was like, "What is happening in this race? What is going on?" So, 28 cars caught up in the crash with 5 to go. It brought out the red flag and, of course, the drama and the chaos with the damaged vehicle policy, or we'll refer to it as DVP. Um, that was that was interesting to, watch unfold because you had some drivers who thought they needed to be helped first because they can keep going. Everyone thinks they can make it to back to the pits, and it's like some cars can't, and then you're having, like, a triage of issues. And the safety team is worried about safety first and foremost, so they're trying to worry about drivers who got hurt and not push anyone or tow anyone. It's like it was a whole thing. But safety comes first for those on the track, especially when that becomes that big of a, crash.
Well, and the damaged vehicle policy, of course, was even more at the front of everyone's discussion this week, given what we saw the last 2 weeks, I guess, when we saw the decision made for Josh Berry and the four to be towed back to the garage, and then also it was Blaney, a few weeks before
Mm,
that also was towed back to the garage. So,
right.
those 2 prior decisions or incidents, had that on the forefront of everyone's mind. So I think kind of seeing everyone was looking to see how NASCAR competition was gonna respond this weekend at Talladega. So I think, that being said, I do feel there even personally, and I need to go look more into it and see what Elton Sawyer has said, but I still have a lot of questions regarding what is the policy moving forward for damaged vehicles and, ability to get back to pit road. And I just think that there is still a little bit of a gray area there that I'm curious to know how they resolve that here, which they will in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, imagine gosh, triaging that, like, you have to deal with a policy the moment you're like, "Oh, this is never gonna happen," and then the thing that's never gonna happen, you're like, "You probably brought it up in a meeting years ago when they talked about damaged vehicle policy." Like, "We're never gonna have this many cars. This is gonna be fine." And then, you got
Yeah.
28. So, uh, that's a good point that Sawyer did, talk to Alex Weaver per usual, which again, I do appreciate that they do show him more. He did say this, year 3 of the Gen 7 car, DVP has been challenging work, and they're gonna work on it more in the off season because of all these occurrences that happened this year, and they're gonna, like, work on rewriting and fixing it. The thing is, after someone says that, for me, also working in corporate America, once you say something like that, like, "We're gonna work on this, we're gonna look at it and think about it," I would like to see the results in a couple months, be like, "Hey, remember this interview where I said we're gonna work on it? This is what we worked on. This is what we did. Just like FYI. We heard you guys. We said we were gonna do this, and this is what we're implementing, and this is how it's gonna work." So it'd be nice to see like the thank you for saying you're gonna work on it, and hopefully you do. I like to see the results at the end of it.
I completely agree with you, and I have to believe though, given the transparency that NASCAR is can starting to show, and I don't want to say is being really asked to show, pressured to show from the teams and from the fans as well. I think that we will get this follow up from Elton, and just from competition in general as to what that rule specifically looks like. Maybe it's not, by the end of this season, but definitely going into next year. I think they're going to have to come out and kind of like lay out the black and whites of what that rule actually is. So I do feel confident that you're right, that we want that and that we will hopefully
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah. I also saw on the Xfinity that for the top 4 cars were just tandeming in the last restart when you're not supposed to be locked bumper to bumper like that. And I was like, is this allowed? Is this not allowed? Is this like a gray area? But we did get a green flag finish for Xfinity, and I'm happy that's going to be because I really think Charlotte Roval is going to throw us for some for some wild stuff. Um, it was a sad day for Ryan Sieg fans, though.
Ryan Sieg fans uh, have unfortunately have more sad days than they would like. It's tough. I feel for them.
Yeah, first Sheldon Creed, everyone feels bad for, and then we have Sieg now. I saw on Reddit someone called themselves Sieg Bros. Like that's the name they're just giving themselves. Sieg Bro fans or Sieg Bros. And I was like, all right, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mentioned it always feels like they race for a second on the last lap. Too many selfish moves at the end. Yeah, we talk about that all the time, where I always get frustrated watching as a viewer. It's like, "All right, we're all professionals. We all get paid to do this weekend after weekend. We can finish under the green. We can make it there." And then we don't.
Look, and personally, my opinion will always stay the same, though, in regards to selfish moves. Now, I know that this can't this can't be a blanket overstatement for every single selfish move we see, but for the most part, I have a lot of grace for these often deemed selfish moves at the end of some of these races. Because look, as a driver, how are you going to go back at the end of a race to your team or your crew chief or your team owner and be like, yeah, I could have made a move for the win there, but I thought third was good or whatever it was. I think that I will always have a little bit of more grace for some of those moves at the end because winning races is hard. Even in the Xfinity series, it's hard. So I respect a driver that's willing to make those moves and push for it. Now, again, this can't be a blanket statement because we've seen a few questionable moves in some of those places, but for the most part, I don't mind a little bit of aggression there at the end.
Look, you can take calculated risk. You just can't be bad at math. And somehow everyone takes calculated risk and are bad at math at the Xfinity finishes. I think just don't. It's just so frustrating to watch. Um, I guess it's a win learn, right? Like that's why we have these series, these ladders, etc. And hopefully you're like, okay, now I'm never going to do that again. Next time in a similar situation, and hopefully learn from it and move on. Guac says, if you're Sheldon Creed, would you rather finish second again or fifth through 10th? I would take second every single time. No doubt about it.
I was just reading that, yeah. If it's 5th to 10th because you were pushing in second place for that win and you got knocked back to 5th to 10th, I'd rather take that. But if you see what I'm saying? Like, it goes back to the to pushing it at the end. Like, I'd rather fight for a move to not finish second and win the race and then finish 5th to 10th than just ride in second and know that you could have done more.
Oh, that's a good point. I just rather take second at all times. I guess a scrappy 5th to 10th or a well-earned 5th to 10th is better than a I just wanna get them points.
That's fair.
I mean, is SVG the favorite for both Roval races or AJ? Now, that's a good question. There are a lot of track changes for the Roval. Sorry, I have it in a sheet, and I don't wanna mess up the exact wording of what the Roval looks like. If you're on Twitter, the Speedway excuse me, X, the Speedway has posted photos of it. So what okay, I'm just gonna read straight off the thing because I what lies ahead this weekend is a reconfigured Roval changed this year to feature a longer straightaway between turns 5 and 6 to set up a sweeping right-handed turn 6 into an extremely tight left-handed hairpin at turn 7, leading back to the banked turns of the oval. Additionally, the front stretch chicane gets a new look as its turn 15 entry dives further left to set up a sharper, near 90-degree right turn 16 before a 90-degree left back to start finish line. It's gonna be really
Got
fun. Keep
it.
going. Got it. There will be a
So,
lot of fun.
there will so, Ash, do you okay, I'll going back to the question, is AJ the favorite or is SVG? Personally, I think those changes that you laid out is where I start to look a little more at SVG.
Mhm.
Because if this was the same Roval that they've run for AJ's, what, 4, 5 Xfinity wins, and then the one, I mean, AJ has so many wins at the Roval, but SVG, more recently than any driver in that field, is got the learning mindset right now. Like, he is actively, we're watching him learn, and the ability to adapt like that in this race car, I think is maybe where that strength will come into play this weekend. Because especially given that this is the perfect mix of road course and oval, look at the development and growth that we've seen from SVG just this season alone. I mean, we've seen him actively make mistakes on an oval and then go back out and correct those mistakes in the same race. And I think that that may seem minor, but that ability to do that is going to really come into play this weekend when everybody's looking at fresh changes to such an already tricky race course.
Yeah, exactly to your point. AJ mentioned, I mean, he carries the perfect 4 for 4 record in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway, that Roval, into the round of 12 finale. He, yeah, now we're having these changes where he is worried about SVG. Um, for all of you who probably do know, SVG, thanks to Supercars experience, he does that heel toe shifting, allowing him to skip gears by matching RPMs on the gas pedal. So for all those near 90-degree left, rights, hairpins and stuff. This is not unfamiliar to SVG and stuff that he dealt with in his Supercars experience being a 3-time champ. So this is something where he's gonna be able to thrive, and I think AJ sees that, right? Like, usually AJ's like, "I got this on lock, no one's usually up to par with me." Now SVG is here making a match, and I wonder if, AJ then is taking just taking more not precautions, just able to get ready. I don't know how you get more ready that they didn't get ready before. But, just mentally ready. Maybe they were talking, exchanging stuff, exchanging tips by stuff. That's what I mean. Obviously, not going to have the same setups and things like that. But I think SVG is probably giving AJ some tips and tricks there about what to do for certain turns here and there, especially that stripping right hand turn 6 into that hairpin and 7. So AJ Allmendinger at Roval is unbeaten. He won the Cup race last year, beating Byron. I think AJ will be a threat once again. Yeah, he'll be up there, but I think he has SVG to worry about for the races. So, not
For
saying
sure, no
AJ
doubt
won't
about
win
that. I
anything like
think they're
that.
both gonna put on a fabulous show.
Mhm.
I think, barring nothing happens to either of them early in the race, I'm excited to see
Oh my
these
gosh.
2 battle it
That's a
out,
great point.
especially given what you just said. We're already looking to say who's the favorite here, but the reality too is that these guys have the ability to share notes and to also work off of each other. So it's kind of a really neat mix of competition that we're going to get to see on display this weekend, where they've been able to help each other succeed in the week leading up to it, and now the gloves are off and they're taking each other on in those closing laps. That's what I'm hoping happens, and I'm really looking forward to it this weekend.
I think qualifying is gonna be really important, and especially in a race like this, where I'm not sure everyone is ready for these kind of changes on the track, to say politely as possible. Qualifying and making sure you're up front, avoiding those wrecks in the back and those punterinos and someone full setting it into your apex, especially on a hairpin turn. We've all been there in iRacing. I think qualifying is gonna be super important for AJ and SVG, and they get up there in the first 2 rows at least. They'll be around good company where they can make a quick getaway if need to and not get yeeted into oblivion.
So, Ash, do you remember, and I say
Uh,
that facetiously because how could we forget? Do you remember a number of years ago when we watched the entire field just go straight into Heartburn Turn instead of taking the left? I fear I fear as though my post-traumatic race fan stress is starting to set in when I see some of these hairpins and these major changes to the track, and I just have to hope and pray that, to your point, although maybe we aren't necessarily ready for some of these, we can learn through qualifying and through the early laps of the race, and to not let this be a detrimental change, to the overall race structure and field. If you get what I'm trying to say. I don't want somebody to full send it into one of these turns and take out half the field, and now we don't get to see, a real race here. So do you
um,
remember that?
yeah, I do. Which is why I laugh, because that was really funny that you brought it up. Yeah, I think we all remember it. It's like a Mario Kart circuit
Thank
now.
you.
I think it provides challenges. How do I say this? Heartburn turn. Yeah, you don't wanna make it gimmicky, but I also think if you wanna tout yourself as we have the best drivers, best stock car drivers, you can race on ovals, speedways, road courses, rovals, etcetera. You need to make it a little bit more challenging. And, maybe we're all gonna learn some, heel toe shift in here from SVG and get that under our belts as a skill set and see how that works out for him. Um, it is very interesting to see the changes. Again, the pictures are on, Charlotte Motor Speedway, um, for their for the reconfigurations. It kind of cool to see how it's all changed. There was something you said. Sorry, go ahead, Jess.
No, you're good. While you think, I was just gonna say quickly, as much as we sit here and I joke about hoping that everybody can take on these changes. Of course, we're coming from a supportive, exciting outlook onto what this is going to bring, because the way I see it is the Roval was the track that is kind of throwing something new in there, right? Like
Mhm.
this is the weird outlier on the schedule of road course and oval, and it was already kind of a funky toss into the schedule. And so I think them maintaining that ability to kind of bring new challenges to the schedule is important. And I would rather see it out of the Roval than really any other road course. I like that they're going in there and they're creating new challenges, because they already were kind of that, for lack of a better word, like unique, groundbreaking course to kind of throw themselves into the schedule. So I like it. I'm all open for new challenges and for new track changes.
Will makes a good point. I think there'll be some desperate guys that will send it to the hairpin, and I did like the upwards. Like I agree, especially those with the cut line that are below. So for the Cup Series above the cut line, you got Byron, of course, Bell, Larson, Hamlin, Bowman, Blaney, Reddick, and Elliott, and below are Logano, Suarez, Cindric, and Briscoe. Though Elliott is not that far ahead for the full points. Let me get the full picture here. He is only plus 13 and Joey Logano was minus 13. So that's still pretty close. Tyler Reddick with plus 14. So it's really anyone's game, as we saw in Talladega. And same thing for the Xfinity Series playoff standing on below the cut line. Justin Allgaier, Shane Van Gisbergen, Sam Mayer, and Parker Kligerman. So for Shane, this could be really big to help him out. And AJ is only plus 7 as well above the cut line. So I'm seeing some full sends.
Yeah, this is a big
Absolutely.
race. This is a big race, especially on that Xfinity side. Yeah.
Alexander's asking, would NASCAR ever go back to the oval in October and get rid of the oval? I think you mean we'll go back to the oval in October and get rid of the roval? Is that what you're asking? Um, I like okay, maybe a hot take according to NASCAR Twitter and Reddit. I really don't think the roval's that bad. Or bad at all. That's I shouldn't say that bad. I really don't think the roval's bad. I'm always entertained by it. There were some
I don't think it's bad either.
and this is not me saying that just because we're on the official NASCAR channel. There are some tracks, well, you will know that I don't have anything nice to say, but I will keep that to myself in the best of my ability. I really have no issue with the Roval. Um, I I think it just adds a little more challenge. I just think it's so different. They created challenges when they started the
Look,
Clash of the
Ash,
Coliseum. Mm, sorry, go ahead.
no, I just was gonna say I'm with you there, because I'm kind of at a mindset too where, you know, I work for the sport, of course, but I'm a NASCAR fan as myself. So even before I was working for the sport, I, am ingrained in the fandom and understanding the ebb and flow. And we all, as NASCAR fans, can agree that sometimes we're hard to please. Yeah. Like, it's like, let's take a look in the mirror. Let's all do it together. Okay. Let's all look in the mirror together and say, yes, sometimes we're hard to please. And I think that was very evident when we saw when we saw Ricky Stenhouse Jr. get that win last week, and everybody was like, what? Why? Everybody was a broad term, I shouldn't say. There were a number of race fans that were like, what is this about? Like, he shouldn't be winning. Like, there's too much parity in the sport. And I'm like, wait, weren't we weren't we just in the couple years ago talking about how we needed more parity in the sport? Didn't we hate the Kyle Larson show, or before that the Kevin Harvick show, or the Jimmy Johnson, whatever it is when it comes to racetracks as well. I recognize that, like, it's going to be hard to please everybody. Well, I think we have to, as a fan base,
Mhm.
look at each racetrack for what it's bringing to the table, right? Like, it's just going to be difficult to try to please everybody. I think the Roval's great for what it brings to the table.
Yeah, at some point we're kind of like Star Wars fans. There's just always something I find someone complaining about, regardless of what it is. It literally could be anything. It's just like, all right, at
And
some
it
point,
comes from a place of passion.
that's fair.
Like, I can't front it, because it's like a lot of passionate people. So, like, I appreciate it as
That's a
long as
nice
we
way
can
of
all
saying
be
it.
real with ourselves, and say, I'm passionate. Sometimes I'm wrong, but I'm passionate.
Sometimes I'm wrong. That's just the internet as a whole. Especially
Oh, of course.
Yeah. That one guy says, "I like both
But
versions,
I'm
the
scared to
oval
call out
circle."
the
Scared to call out. Yeah, people are gonna be angrily tweeting about us in a second. That guy says, "I like both versions. The oval is great during the 600 for strategy and endurance, and the roval is something entertaining." Fast Chat says, "I think they should get rid of all road course races," which is interesting. That could be your opinion. I do like some of the road course races. I do appreciate Sonoma. I like Chicago. Maybe not all of them. What's wrong with keeping some of them? Or do you just want different road course races, chat?
yeah. Yeah, I think NASCAR schedule. I mean, you could sit here and argue that the emphasis on road courses that we've seen has grown tremendously i- in the past, what, 5, 6, 7 years now. But I think that's important. And quite honestly, I think that having the emphasis that we do have on road course racing in NASCAR is what continues to open the door to other drivers of different facets of motorsports to be a little more comfortable and encouraged to come try their hand at driving a NASCAR stock car, a cup car, or an Xfinity car, or whatever it is. Because think about how many international drivers or how many other series drivers we see come in and try out the Indy road course or try out a different road course. And I think having that in NASCAR is what is right now is what's really hard and helping that bridge. I think there's more than a place for road courses. What people's thoughts are and why you maybe value oval racing over road course racing. I'm so open to hearing it.
Mike Honcho says in the chat, road courses are good change of pace throughout the schedule. That one guy on Twitch says, "I like the idea of the Daytona 20-hour layout, but it's sad to see how it ended up playing out. These cars, it's a lot harder versus your normal sports cars. Hopefully, we can see like a Roval of Homestead be tried. I think it'll be fun to change it up." I do want to mention that Faith brings an interesting point into the chat where there's a good problem with maintaining a fan base while creating a new one. You, but exactly to your point, Jesse, I don't think we can make everyone no one can make everyone happy. That is just an inherent problem, and people also don't like change. That is why I have a job in corporate America as a change management manager because people don't like change. And I feel like we've talked about this before somewhere. So yeah, we're trying to introduce new things to bring in new fans and make it fun and entertaining, but also good racing. But like, how do you make sure you keep the good racing and what NASCAR is and everything you want it to be, with adding those new elements in of the road courses, of those sweeping left-handers and hairpins and such. So I do like the road courses personally. I like that we went to Chicago. I thought that was a great hit. I do like that we've obviously kept our traditions in the sport. Like I've been watching since 1948. So I think it's a nice mix of everything currently, and there's still things we're figuring out. But you have to try something new, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then you just move on and keep doing things. How else do you get traditions? You at one point these traditions were also new, and we were all like, "Oh, this is crazy."
It's so true. You have to, and at some point, it's like you said, it's tough. It's difficult to embrace change, but that's what our sport needs. But to your point, there's a balance, right? That you have with the current fan base. So
Yeah,
I think it's
Alexander
going
in
to
the
take
says,
a big give
"Ooh,
and take from each side.
what give and take from each side." Sorry, Jesse, you're just cutting in and out. I think either I'm having internet issues because Twitch is like ah, or something's going on with our internets. Unfortunately, um, so it's not you every
It's
time I interrupt.
probably me.
But internet, it's 2024. You think the internet would just get its stuff together, but no.
It's because I just called out the internet as a whole, Ash. I told
The
you I was
internet is
scared to
in
call out the internet as a whole, and now we are.
Pour one out for Riverside? No, unfortunately, we don't use Riverside. We use something called in Twitch, it's called Guest Star. So anytime we interview someone, they have a Twitch account or we have a Twitch guest account and they log on to Twitch and use it and stuff. So it's a very interesting thing they have set up and it's kind of difficult to control, which is why thank you guys every time you bear with us with audio issues when we have guests on and stuff. It's just like it's a little frustrating. So bringing these hot takes as fast as Xfinity 5G internet, I don't think liking road courses is a hot take. I think it's like a preference. So, um, okay, instead of a road course, let's race on 3 races on dirt at Knoxville. Okay, I wouldn't mind bringing back a dirt race. I agree with that. If we're going to say we're the best in stock car racing, might as well race in the dirt.
And I think if we're gonna race in the dirt, we should go race at a track that is a built dirt track. I loved the experimenting with the dirt at Bristol, but at the end of the day, yeah, I think if we're gonna race on dirt, I would love to see it at Knoxville.
For this weekend leading into Roval, there are a bunch of events happening, which is fun when we do have the races here. I think same thing with the like Coke 600 here for the Roval. We have the Corey LaJoy's softball event tomorrow, and Jesse, I believe you are actually hosting that. Oh, kickball. Sorry, kickball. It's there's a ball, there's people
Kickball,
involved.
yeah.
Kickball. I'm so sorry.
Yep, we're kicking balls tomorrow afternoon over at the Cannonballers Stadium. I'm not kicking any balls, no worries. I will be on the sidelines though. I'm going to be doing the sideline reporting for the live stream. We're going to have a full live stream of it. Basically, it's a whole day long of kickball being played for charity. It's Corey LaJoy's charity event that he sets up. But in the evening, the stream will go up at about 6:45. That'll be the start of the celebrity championship games. So that's where some of the faces that you guys will recognize, some of the drivers, some of the personalities in the sport, they're all going to be coming out to compete against each other. So I'll be on the stream bringing you some interviews. So definitely tune in if you guys aren't going to be there in person. It's going to be very very entertaining. At least it has been the last couple of years. Oh, and want to note as well, if you are going to tune in and watch, they did a live draft show on NASCAR's YouTube. So the Corey and then the other team captains are able to all get together and draft their teams live. So that'll give you a good little precursor as to some of the competition and what teams you'll be seeing compete tomorrow night. So definitely going to be fun. I highly recommend tuning in. Like I said, live stream on NASCAR YouTube starting at 6:45.
Someone in the chat asked what celebrities are playing. Do you know who's on the list?
It's a great question. Let me see if I can pull up the list for you guys. Ba-ba-da-da,
So it's
you
called the
know,
Kickball Classic. They
making
also
sure
have a
confirmed
silent
because there's always
auction as
changes.
well. Ooh, they have tickets. Oh yeah, general mission. You can come to the Kickball Classic, by the way, chat. So you can see Jessie doing her thing and folks competing. And general mission is $10 if you're in the area. Atrium Health Ballpark. Celebrity game at 6 p.m. Oh, here's the draft show. Thank you. I will put that in the YouTube. Ooh, Ryan Blamey Bumbles, Ricky Steinhaus, and Corey LaJoy draft their Kickball Classic. Oh, that's so funny. Twitch team next year? Maybe.
Yeah, I want to make sure. I know there are changes to the lineup. So if you say anything, I want to make sure that we have who's there. But I do know a lot of drivers are going to be playing. So it's definitely it's always fun to see the guys. For as these are professional athletes, right? I mean, these guys go out there and what they do on Sundays, Saturdays and Sundays is just absolutely absurd. So much respect for that. However, What I do love is watching some of these guys out of their element a little bit, and kickball is not exactly in everybody's element, so it is quite fun to go out there and see people kind of, let their hair down a little bit, not take themselves so seriously like they do, when they're at work at the racetracks. So I highly recommend tuning in because you'll get to see a lot of your favorite drivers and personalities in a little bit of a different light than you may normally see them. Because, like I said, they're just out of their element a little bit. So it makes for a really fun time.
I feel like we have to do a Twitch YouTube team, right? We just got to combine because there's not a lot of things happening on the Twitch stream here besides us, the classics, which you can't really have the classic NASCAR race stream compete in kickball. It's not a person. We do have our eNASCAR drivers, which might be kind of cool if they want to compete in a kickball. So that may be fun. So we include the YouTube folk who have their shows and their podcasts and daily. I think that would be really fun. I don't know how many people you need for a team, but that is something to sign me up. That'd be fun. Do we do a raffle? Will someone from chat can come? Chat, if you have the most channel points, we're
Apparently, okay, here's the thing though. Apparently, they're like real serious.
yeah.
What's
So am
that,
I. I'm very
Rachel?
quiz. Q. All right, done. Producers too. Q, Rachel, Nick. Do you want to play? But Nick, how many people do we need? 7? How many people? There's 3 bases. Do we have 2 people in the outfield? 3? Do we need a shortstop? Like, what do we? What positions are we talking about here for the kickball classic?
Welcome to our live draft show right here. This is the live draft show for the Twitch and YouTube Kickball Classic, unofficial for 2025.
Oh, do we make shirts or do they provide uniforms? That's the next question.
Can we bedazzle the uniforms?
Oh, absolutely. Q,
That's
will
my
you wear a
next
bedazzled
question.
uniform? And then I'm sure we can get. I don't know if Mambo's playing on a different team, but he's like part of the YouTube fam, so I feel like we can. We need a mascot. We need 9. Would you have
Mamba's on
10?
the celebrity team.
Of course he is. Is Shannon Spake on the
He ain't
celebrity
gonna play
team?
on our team.
Can Shannon Spake play on our
I
team?
call him up right now. He'd say, "I'm not gonna play on your team.
Yeah, till we kick their butt and everyone
We're
wants.
gonna start trying to recruit some ringers." Okay, but apparently though, it's like super legit.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, Mamba switched
Yeah.
teams. Okay, so maybe we can recruit him. Maybe he'll switch to our team.
Larry Mack is our coach. Oh my gosh.
Honestly, I would probably follow Larry Mack off a bridge, so he can coach me. I love that man.
Um, Alexander's asking, how does the forecast look for the kickball classic? No rain or tease storms. Yeah, I don't believe Charlotte, North Carolina, or Kannapolis, which is north of Charlotte, is getting impacted by the rain. Yeah, it looks sunny and 70 this whole entire race weekend. So, oh, where is the kickball classic going to be played? That is in, I think I just said Atrium. Let me kick that. Uh,
It
Kannapolis.
is
It's
the
only $10 a weekend.
Cannonballers Stadium.
Atrium Health Ballpark in Kannapolis, North Carolina. So if you're able to attend, it's $10. You can come watch half a full day. It actually starts at what 1 p.m. a little bit earlier, and the celebrities play at 6. So you can have multiple hours of the Kickball Classic
Mhm.
if that interests you in Kannapolis. Everyone's welcome to come. Something else happening this weekend is the Hendrick Fall Fest. Leading up into the Roval, you can meet your favorite drivers and Hendrick Motorsport legends. And you can take home memorabilia, gear, and there'll just be stuff to do with the family. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a little fall fest. So it's Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, October 12th, leading in again to the race weekend. And I see other teams doing a lot of stuff, but this was the only team that I could find for this race weekend is the Hendricks Fall Fest. Corey LaJoy doing his kickball classic. 2311 randomly tweeting yesterday they have sheet metal available if you want to take it home with you. That has nothing to do with this weekend, but if you're in the area and you want some sheet metal for some race cars, I'm just letting you all know that's available at 2311 at Airspeeds. First come, first serve. I don't know if it's still available. They put it out yesterday. So if you're also in the area, feel free to check it out. Jesse, someone asked a question about modifieds real quick before we pick our picks for Charlotte. Who's your modified pick for Thompson?
Ooh, great question. I'm gonna have to go with Justin Bonsignor. He has a ridiculous number of wins at Thompson. Don't again, I think it's like 13. Don't quote me on that. It's 11, 13, something like that. Just an unreal number of wins at Thompson. And this race was big for him last year. He made a huge mistake in this race last year, and I just have to believe that given how tight the championship run is and given how he did that last year, he's going to go out there with a very focused mindset and do what he knows how to do at Thompson. I feel very confident in that. But again, qualifying's big at Thompson, so we'll have to go, kind of see how that goes to start the weekend. Noting though, quickly, while we're talking about mods, I did mention earlier that the North Wilkesboro race date has been rescheduled. So that's going to be on Sunday, October 20th. So, whereas typically this Thompson race is oftentimes the championship decider, right? Like we have Thompson and then they still go have the finale at Martinsville. But given the way that Thompson races and the points and everything, a lot of times whoever comes out on top at Thompson is going to be the champion. There's not enough you can put Martinsville to shake that up. But given now that we have an entire race date between Thompson and Martinsville, and that being North Wilkesboro, kind of interesting. It adds like a little twist on the end of the season. So, definitely pay attention to the mods if you're not, because there's three drivers. I said there's three drivers. Good lord, three drivers that are in contention for this championship still. And it's really fun to watch. So definitely tune in. That Thompson race is this Sunday night. We have a rare Sunday night race as opposed to our normal Saturday nights.
And then Jesse, because I stole your pick last week when we were talking about Talladega, do you want to go first for your Charlotte Roval pick?
I call dibs. I call dibs on SVG.
All right. That one's a little obvious. All right. Fine. I'll take
Isn't
Adrian
that
Allmendinger.
isn't that what you did to me last week?
That's true. I did do that to her last week. She's right. She's not wrong. She's not
She
wrong.
We were like, "So your picks for?" She was like, "Dibs, dibs, dibs." So, I was ready this week. I was on it. No, on the real though, my pick is SVG for everything that I laid out earlier. The willingness to push the limits here in the Cup Series, the ability to learn and adapt that we've seen from him this year, the team that he has behind him. I think we're gonna see a stellar show from Shane Van Gisbergen.
Marcus says my cup pick is Christopher Bell. Interesting. We have Quizzy saying I'll take the 17. For me, yeah, we could do AJ SVG, the folks that we've been talking about. That everyone hops up for these road courses. Some I think some folks to look out for are also Byron Reddick, Bowman. I have Bell, Busher, and Elliott kind of in the same level here. Obviously, we're gonna put AJ and SVG at like S tier for the Charlotte Roval, and then I'm gonna go to like I think maybe Bush or Byron next, and then so on and so forth. Cup pick is going to be MTJ. Interesting. James says my pick for Charlotte is Chase Elliott. Mike says Larson has it in the bag, but seriously, SVG is a great pick. Yeah. Interested to see what he can do at the Charlotte Roval for both cars. How many cautions at the Roval for both races?
Um,
Let's see what Seth Eggert has to say about this. He does a good calculation. Do you have a number in your head already, Jesse?
I don't do math. I would like to politely decline any math questions today. Thank you. Next question.
Next question.
I'm just kidding. I think there's gonna be a lot. I mean, I
Seth Eggert likes to say in 6 races at the Roval, Xfinity Racing has averaged 7 cautions per race at the old layout. NASCAR fans with the new layout have over or under 7.5 cautions. For Xfinity, not including, I'm gonna say under. It's gonna be like 45. I'm gonna say under for Xfinity. I think we're gonna say 7.5 or under. For the Cup Series, though, I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna say 10. 10 for Cup. Ooh, James says 6 each. I
I'm
just
with you
went
there. I'm
ball.
under on 7.5 for Xfinity, but over for Cup.
Yeah. I don't know why I think Xfinity will be more tamed,
Also,
but
quickly, sorry, before we move on, I saw this comment in here and I wanna respond to it. And of course now I've lost it, and that's why I should have mentioned this earlier. Somebody asked, basically they asked 2 questions. They said, "How long is that modified race at Martinsville?" And it's 200 laps. And then they also asked why that moved away from the Cup Series, the National Series weekend. So that's gonna be the weekend before now, and it is tandem with the MX-5 race at Martinsville. So the Mazda MX-5 Series Cup and then the modifieds, both of those series will be racing that night at Martinsville. So yes, it did move away from the National Series weekend, but that's because they teamed it up with that Mazda race, which is going to be really fun to watch. So kind of a little different racing action for you at Martinsville, and that's the weekend before. So
NASCAR question: do points stay with the driver or car if they use a sub driver? So you're asking if someone replaces someone? Fast chat. Yeah. Yes, in quotes. There's like I'm sure there's like an asterisk, but we can say the same thing happened with Chase. So the thing. Oh, I think the car. Yeah. We're talking about the Chase Elliott situation. It's something to like that's an example. When he broke his leg just a few years ago in the number 9 car. YouTube chat says 3, maybe cautions. Alexandra says cup cautions. I think there'll be 4. God, that number is way too little, guys. I think that number is way too small. Have you seen those hairpins?
yeah,
Have
that
you seen
seems
the
low.
desperation of these gentlemen who are driving? If they'll want stage
Have you
points, though,
seen the
we'll get it.
playoff picture?
Yeah, we'll go to those who flip the stage. Yeah. Haven't had many cautions on Roval road courses, including stages. I see where you're coming from, James. I just don't think this is going to be a Sonoma situation. You know, I think we're thinking like I'm thinking like Chicago times something
Mhm.
because a lot of things are on the line here, and people are going to make those desperate moves. So Sonoma's nice, or Circuit of the America situation. That's not going to happen.
Well, and I think it goes back to looking at the Roval as not your normal road course. Like that's kind of the whole point, right? It's supposed to be this kind of much like Chicago, this fun, unique event that's a little quirky that they've thrown into the schedule, and that's why they continue to make these changes to elevate how challenging this track is. So it's all about shifting your mindset about this racetrack. It's not gonna be, like you said, Ash, a normal road course. And then, like you said a second ago too, throw in all the other factors of the playoffs and so much going on that yeah, it's gonna be very different than I think what we've seen from other road courses this season.
Yeah, I do. James says time will tell, and I agree. Chat also has full permission to make fun of me if I am wrong. That's fine. I'm fine being wrong. So if it's only 3 or 4 or 5 cautions
Look,
and not
chat always has full permission to make fun of me at all, any whenever. That's fine.
no, whenever. I'm a little too sensitive for whenever. But when I am wrong, that's also completely completely
Oh,
fine.
okay.
So, Mike makes a good point. It was heartbreaking seeing JJ take out MTJ on the last lap turn at the Roval a few years back. What a finish, though! And I think it was last year where Bubba Wallace got hit and then cut the corner and got penalized for such, even though he had no control of doing so. There's a lot of stuff goes down the Roval that I'm just mentally preparing for to watch after Talladega. It's just roller coasters of emotions.
Well, and that's a great point. Like thinking about that last turn there, I guess it was through the bus stop that they all kind of started to get into each other. We don't really see, or at least haven't seen, that kind of aggression on road courses at the finish like we see at the Roval. Like it just breeds the way the track is laid out, everything about it just breeds exciting finishes. And so I think yes, I think you're absolutely right. Like that's just the nature of the Roval. And I'm really hoping, so that you guys don't make fun of us, that we're right about that and that it continues to be just as wild as we've seen in previous years.
And cautions breed cautions. You know what they say in the broadcast space.
Amen.
Top Cat agrees it's going to be hard to tell who's going to win the Roval. I don't know about my usual road course picks. Yeah, I think this is a interesting. road course, I should say, but a road course nonetheless. If you do want to watch it, amongst all the racing that is also happening this weekend, tomorrow we do have the Classics race, excuse me, playing tomorrow here on the Twitch stream at 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to have some background racing while you're working, doing house chores and whatnot, 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll be playing the 2020 Bank of America Roval 400 here on the stream. Friday, fun fact, I will be live from the number 9 hauler on Twitch. I will be live streaming at 6:30 p.m. as the haulers enter Charlotte Motor Speedway. So I'll be in the number 9. Um, I'll be asking questions to the hauler driver in chat. You're welcome to come join and ask questions. So if you want more content, if you want to see that behind the scenes, how everything gets set up and get ready, we'll be live on Friday here in the evening. Xfinity race will race Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern on the CW Cup Series, 2 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Don't forget, IMSA is also racing again in Petit Le Mans this weekend for the 10-hour. So a lot of racing to be had in the NASCAR family here at the Charlotte Roval. If you're able to make it to the Kickball Classic, the Hendrick Fan Fest, Fall Fest, excuse me. Oh God, there's so much stuff happening. Go to 2311 to get your sheet metal. um, come to the race if you can and hang out with us and such. And make sure you tune in for the classics tomorrow. But I don't think I've missed anything. I think we've covered everything that's happening this week. But next week you can come back to us and tease us for our caution flag picks. Chat, I hope your favorite driver wins, as long as it's also me and Jess's favorite driver. And we will see you next week here to talk about it all as we move on to the next round for the playoffs. Everyone, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the races.
Hey, I'm Parker Kligerman, and you're watching NASCAR. NASCAR